everybody, you're getting a different view this time as I undecorate my tree. Yes, it's still up in February, but I changed it over to just kind of winter stuff. But I want to do a part two from my first video of child loss and whether your thoughts and feelings are normal. This video is basically going to be about some of the things that I've learned since my daughter passed away, but in reality, this is just in general. This can apply to everyday life. I think we all deal with this even without grief or, losing a child. For me specifically, I lost my way as I moved up work-wise and pay-wise. I felt like I always wanted more, and I was so much happier when I made less and I felt like I had more money because I was budgeting. I felt like things were really going well when my daughter's accident happened. I'm the type of person that every time I take 2 steps forward, I get punched 10 steps back. So at the time, her accident happened, things were going well. We just moved into our new house, and I blamed myself for her death. I blamed this new house for her death. And the reason being is because we lived in a single wide trailer over on our farm side for like 20 something years. And when we moved out, my daughter and her boyfriend moved in next door to us, and her accident happened about 6 or 7 miles down the road. So I just felt like she'd still be here if I didn't need a bigger house. And, I felt like the universe was saying, nope, we got to snatch you back a little bit, because I really was. It dawned on me afterwards, like I was really starting to get greedy, because I had all the plans. I wanted a paved driveway and a really nice porches and decks on, around the house, and an in-ground pool, and we don't have any of that stuff. Because it costs money, and I knew that wasn't, but, I wanted it. But you know what I've learned since her death? We got to have the gadgets and all the things. There's no U-Haul following that hearse when you die. You can't take your stuff with you. So why are we wanting for so much? All the shoes we got to have, all the makeup, the fancy cars, the trucks, the lift kits, all that stuff makes you feel good in the moment, but you don't gain anything from it. My daughter liked modifying her vehicle. She had gotten a new Ford Focus. It wasn't even a year old. You know where it got her? Gone. That's it. Still had to pay for it. Bank wasn't going to allow us not to. But she worked hard to pay that car payment, stressed over the car payment, just like you do as an adult, right? We stress over our mortgages, car payments, our bills, everything. That's all we do. We work towards stuff. And making sure we make a lot of money to be able to support the stuff that we want. Or in my case, I'm stuck at a job that I have to work to sustain the mortgages I'm now in, right? What we have is based on what I make. So what we really need to be working towards is time. That's all we should be working towards. Time spent with our families and our kids, because tomorrow's not promised, and we won't remember all the stuff. We're not going to remember people are going to remember stuff if you're a hoarder and they have to move everything. But outside of that, we're just going to remember, okay, we worked hard. Yes, we had this, and we took our extra money and we made experiences with it, and we made memories with our kids and our grandkids. Send your spouse flowers. I assume you can send men flowers. I don't know if men want flowers, but, plan a date night. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just spend time with your people and your friends. For several years early on, like in our relationship, all we did was go to Lancaster, Pennsylvania for a weekend. That was our vacation every year until it got over commercialized, and then we started going to Williamsburg, Virginia. And we still do that sometimes when we just want to get away for a kind of more expensive weekend. But for me, I did start doing this before my daughter passed away, but I wanted to make memories with my kids, and they grow up fast, and I just wanted us to all just have memories. And when my husband and I are gone, to say, oh, you remember that time, mom and dad took us here. Now there's a big age gap between the girls and our son. They were already off living their adult lives, and being in the trailer and everything, I wanted to get new appliances. So I started saving for a new fridge and stove. There was nothing wrong with what we had, but it was 20 something years old. So I wanted new stuff and I started saving money. Well, then I realized I want to take my son on a nice trip. So we planned a trip to Disney in 2014 and we took that money and just kept adding to it and saved for 3 years for that trip. It took a long time to save for it, but it was so much more worth it than just having the appliances, the nice stuff, because you only get one life. And do we really want to waste it with over consumerism because someone with a lot of followers on social media are being paid to say, "Oh, you need this. This is a great item." We all know the reviews are fake online now because they're all paid to do them. We're wasting our valuable time listening to these people and our valuable money for more stuff that we can't take with us when we die. And sure, I still buy stuff, and I grew up without having a lot of stuff. So, for me, it was like, oh, I have to have the stuff, right? In reality, I give it away or I send it to donation. So we don't need that stuff. When I grew up with my parents, well, it wasn't the best household. I mean, it was, mentally and physically abusive, but they grew pretty much everything we ate. My dad hunted, crabbed, fish, gardened. My mom canned everything. And I spent my whole adult life running from that survival and self-sufficient lifestyle kind of thing because I told myself I will never live like that. I'm just going to go to the store and buy it. I mean, I grew up in a house with no plumbing. We had an outhouse. We didn't have toilets, And that was in the 80s. I wasn't like it was, 9,000 years ago. And I just didn't want that. And I come from a long line of hoarders, so there's that. But after my daughter passed away, and then all these almost 8 years now, you know what I want? To go back to stuff like that. The simpler life, the not being gouged at the stores, and not needing to make so much money to pay for what we have. I mean, we're kind of stuck in it now, so we have to keep going. But in 2017, when we moved over to this new house, I've been stressed ever since. Like, what if I get laid off? Then what? And every time the insurance and the property taxes go up, my mortgage goes up because I'm in escrow. And I'm not saying don't buy a house or property because that's a great goal. What I'm saying is we don't need the 14 cordless vacuums because the first 13's batteries only last 5 minutes each. The stuff that these, I'm doing air quotes here, influencers are selling us online, and the celebrities and, the politicians like, we got to have this kind of car and we don't need that crap. Okay. We don't need to keep wasting our time and overworking for free at these employers who don't care about us. We aren't important to any of these people. My employer didn't even give a crap that my kid died. I got 3 days of bereavement. So stop working and spending all the time at work. Spend it with your family. That's pretty much what I've learned. I used to work so much for free because I work from home. And so it's easy to just log back in and work and make your life the next day easier at work. I can't get all that time back. When I was a single mom with my daughter, so I worked multiple jobs just to make it. And one day I was sitting out at the cemetery and I thought, gosh, that was so dumb of me. I worked a full-time job just to pay the daycare that was watching her for me to work the full-time job. Then I work a second job to buy all the lunches, to send the daycare and her snacks. I had to keep diapers and formula there because they wouldn't let you just bring it each day. I had to pay for the gas to get to these two jobs. I couldn't even afford to eat myself. So how dumb was that? I can't get that time back. I missed our first steps. I missed a lot. And if I was smart and actually liked other people's kids, I would have opened my own daycare and just got paid to watch their kids so I could stay home with mine. So knowing what I know now, I probably would have moved something and done something like that. I'm tired of wasting my brain cells at a job that doesn't even know I exist. Okay, I work for a very large corporate company, but we all have to work, and I do like what I do, but the company itself is toxic. I'm going to stick it out because I do have plans, and I have goals of paying my bills off, paying our loans off. But I also want to work towards making memories with the kids and the grandkids, even if it's not fancy. We started this thing where we would save our money for months and take all the kids out because, we had grown kids and their significant others to Texas Roadhouse or another local restaurant, Olive Garden, and just pay for them so that we all just had a nice night. Now we do it at home so we're not rushed out of a restaurant. So I'll get like a big pan of lasagna from a local restaurant and we just have a night where we just hang out. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I've focused on savings and paying towards the principals, towards my car payment and my mortgage, and I plan to take you along with those challenges. So be watching for those videos. But I did make a list of some other ways of other things that I've learned. And it doesn't even have to do with the loss of, your child or grief. This is just something for every day. Take the pictures and the videos of your loved ones, even if they don't want you to, because someday that may be all you have. I have a lot of pictures, but I've only been able to uncover 2 15-second Snapchat videos of my daughter. So please make the videos of your family and take the pictures and get pictures with you in them. If you find yourself in this situation, don't just randomly add people that request you all of a sudden on Facebook. So if your child does die, don't do that. I knew not to do it based on another friend who lost her son prior to my daughter in an accident. And she had just had like 190 friends on her page. And then a few days later, she had like 4,000 people. Why? They were being nosy. And all it did was create a lot of drama for her. So be mindful of stuff like that. Don't add people into your life at a time that you don't need the drama. And don't focus on stuff. Focus on time and making memories, no matter how big or small. We don't need this stuff. I know it's hard because we want it all. I'm the same way. But I've been really working hard the past couple of years, and 2025 for sure, to not have so much stuff. This one's for all of us that are older. I'm about to be 50 in a few months. Purge your stuff now so that you don't leave all your hoarded stuff for your children or your family members to have that burden to have to get rid of it. Or to say, I don't want to get rid of this because it was theirs, and then they're stuck with it even though they don't want it. So please, let's start doing that. I've been doing it and working on it for a couple of years now. It's not easy, but, I would say as your kids get older, at driving age, I know it sounds morbid, but I never thought to ask my daughter, like, if something were to ever happen to you, what do you want? Do you want to be buried or cremated? I just went with buried because that's what my family does. We don't really do cremation, but I do always question whether it was the right decision if that's what she would have wanted. My son is about to be 19, and I've already had that conversation with him. So we know what he wants, and he also knows what we want. Talk to your kids. Tell them what you want. I know it's a hard conversation, but it will cut down on the stress in the moment if something were to happen. This one, again, is for all of us adults. If you have streaming services like the cell phone, internet, you go to Starbucks or a fancy coffee shop multiple times a week and stuff like that, and you get your nails done and the fishing poles and the new weapons, all the things, then you've got enough money to have life insurance on yourself. And if you have children that are, especially still at home, on your children, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but as a parent with children, you should have a policy so that your funeral is taken care of. No one should have to go out on the internet and beg for something for someone to donate to a GoFundMe to help pay for your funeral. Okay? Be responsible. I personally never give to those. I'm not doing it because you have to be responsible. Even when I was broke and making like $5 an hour, I had a $5,000 policy for myself. Okay? In 2000, I added my daughter with the $5,000 because that's all they would allow for children back then. And then over the years, I've increased it because funeral costs increase. Now through my employer, they only allow $10,000. So for children. But I know this is going to strike a chord with people. But it's important that no one should have to beg to help pay for your bill at the end. We were very fortunate that we had that, and we had life insurance. We're not trying to make people rich when we die. I tell my kids don't expect anything because, as we age, we might not be able to afford what we have right now for life insurance. But that is something I've learned just from myself. We were very fortunate to have that policy through my employer. We just did an average funeral. It wasn't anything fancy. You don't need a fancy funeral. Okay, you aren't going to be there. You can have a basic funeral. My daughter's was like 11,000 something. Her policy was 10,000, so it wasn't as much that her dad and I had to make up, which made it took that stress away from us. Okay, so I know it's not an easy conversation, and again, I know people are going to be aggravated, like, you don't understand. We don't have the money. You do, but it's not that expensive. I have life insurance through my employer, which is very cheap on all of us. And we also have a policy now, since my daughter passed, we picked up policies outside of my employer in case I lose my job. So it doesn't cost that much to do it. We locked our son in for a $50,000 policy back in 2019. So that way as long as he doesn't allow that to lapse someday when he takes it over, he'll never pay more than that. We pay $490 a year for him to have a $50,000 policy. So I have, I think, $150,000, and I pay $6-something. That's a lie. $5-something a year for mine, and my husband's is $150,000. And he, because he's older than me, he pays more than me, but I think his is like $7-something a year. Now we do pay ours by the year, but you can break it down by the month. And again, you don't need that much money. Just get a basic one so that you can pay that off. Those are some of the things I've learned. And there's so much more that you start to think about of what's important and what's not important in life. So that's all I'm going to say, all I can say on that. I would just think about your family and the time that you're losing with them, being stressed about work. So 2026, let's take our time back and not put so much time into the stuff and the people that don't matter.